This is a first-person, honest exploration of why some worship music still feels emotionally overwhelming, even when my faith is sincere. This is written to bring understanding, not guilt, and clarity, not confusion. My reflection: why worship sometimes overwhelms me instead of grounding me. I used to believe that if worship music overwhelmed me emotionally, something must be wrong with my faith. Either I was too sensitive, too broken, or not spiritually mature enough yet. I am learning that none of those explanations are fully true. Worship can overwhelm me not because it is false, but because it is powerful, and power reveals what is already present inside me. 1. Worship touches what I normally keep guarded. Worship music does not just speak to my thoughts. It reaches into places I keep carefully managed. When I am busy, distracted, or discerning everything, I can keep my emotions compartmentalized. Worship bypasses those walls. It invites honesty instead of control. Scripture shows me this pattern in Psalms. David often moved from restraint to raw exposure in the presence of God. Worship did not create his grief or fear. It revealed it. When worship overwhelms me, it is often because I am encountering emotions I have not yet processed with God. That can feel destabilizing, especially for someone like me who relies on discernment to stay regulated. 2. My emotional sensitivity amplifies spiritual input. I am emotionally sensitive by design. Sound, melody, harmony, and repetition affect my nervous system quickly and deeply. Worship music is intentionally structured to invite surrender, reflection, and emotional openness. That means it engages my sensitivity fully. And not always in a good way. This is not manipulation by default. But it is stimulation. When my emotional capacity is already stretched, worship can feel like too much at once. Not because it is unholy, but because my system is overloaded. The Bible reminds me in Ecclesiastes that there is a time for everything. Even good things can become heavy when timing and capacity are ignored. Sometimes I do not need louder worship. I need quieter presence. 3. Some worship emphasizes atmosphere more than anchoring. This is where I have to be especially honest. Not all worship music is structured to anchor the soul. Some songs lean heavily into emotional atmosphere while offering fewer theological handholds. That does not make them evil. But it does make them intense. When lyrics are vague, repetitive, or primarily experiential, my emotions can surge without clear direction. As someone who feels deeply, that can feel overwhelming rather than grounding. Scripture instructs me in Colossians to let the word of Christ dwell in me richly as I sing. That tells me worship should carry truth alongside feeling. When truth is thin and emotion is thick, my heart floods instead of settles. 4. Worship confronts surrender, not just emotion. Here is something I did not expect. Sometimes worship overwhelms me because it confronts what I am resisting. Worship calls me to trust, to release control, to stop managing outcomes. As someone who discerns everything to feel safe, surrender can feel threatening. Worship presses gently but firmly on that tension. In Romans, worship is described as an offering of myself, not just my voice. That means worship is not passive. It asks something of me. Getting emotionally overwhelmed can be the resistance I feel when my heart knows surrender is required, but my instincts want to stay guarded. 5. I sometimes expect worship to regulate me instead of meet me. I have to admit this. There are times I come to worship expecting it to calm me, center me, or fix my emotional state. When it does not, I feel overwhelmed or disappointed. But worship is not emotional medication. It is relational encounter. In John, Jesus teaches that true worship happens in spirit and truth. That means worship meets me as I am, not as I wish I were. Sometimes that meeting is peaceful. Sometimes it is exposing. Sometimes it is heavy before it becomes light. None of that means worship failed. It means God met me honestly. How I am learning to respond when worship feels overwhelming. I am learning not to push through automatically. Sometimes the most faithful response is lowering the volume, sitting instead of standing, letting silence follow the song, choosing worship songs with stronger scriptural grounding, pausing to pray instead of continuing to sing. Becoming overwhelmed is not rebellion. It is information. It tells me I need grounding, not intensity. Where I am landing. Worship overwhelms me sometimes not because it is wrong, but because it reveals unprocessed emotion. It engages my sensitivity fully. It sometimes emphasizes atmosphere over anchoring. It confronts surrender. It meets me honestly instead of fixing me. I am learning not to fear that. I do not need to force myself to endure worship. I need to receive it wisely. God is not honored by my emotional overload. He is honored by my honest presence. Worship does not need to drown me to shake me. Sometimes it needs to whisper. And I am learning, slowly and without shame, how to listen for both.